Hello, everyone, and once again, welcome to Trixter Month here at Rockeyez. With us today is the man behind the microphone, the voice of Trixter. It's my pleasure to introduce Pete Loran. Pete, thanks again for joining us here at Rockeyez once again, and congratulations on the new release.
Man, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
What was it like working with and writing with your old bandmates again after such a long time?
It was really different this time. Being that those guys are on one side of the country and I'm over here in Arizona. Um, we didn't do a lot of stuff in the same room, which was actually kind of cool. Um, and it's I don't know if it worked out better that way for any particular reason or not, but it seemed to. I did do a couple songs back there with those guys, but the majority of it was done across country, and I don't know, it just seemed to work really good that way.
There are so many great songs on the release. Tell us a little bit about some of your favorites, and what do you remember about recording them for the first time?
Well, there's a bunch of songs I liked on there. There's some different things on there, like the song "The Coolest Thing" is kind of a. I mean, that's completely different for Trixter, which is great, and I love it because we're not stuck on any one particular thing. But songs like that. There's another song called "Live for the Day." Kind of have me singing differently than people who are familiar with Trixter have heard me sing, but it's kind of how I sing a lot. Just people who are familiar with Trixter don't hear it, and songs like that for me are great because they show a different side, different abilities that everyone's capable of. And then you have songs like "Machine" and "Get on It" and stuff like that are just the rockers that people are used to hearing from us.
Mhm. What did you find most challenging about the writing and recording process this time around as opposed to when you guys were first starting?
Um, you know, I was involved in a few songs as far as writing goes. Let's just take a song like "Dirty Love." The name of it itself kind of tells you, it's like a tongue-in-cheek type of song, which is kind of, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's kind of easy to write that kind of stuff, and you just, you can, everyone's got a million stories of, things like that, and those things just kind of are kind of simple, as far as like the actual, structures of the song and everything else. Steve does a lot of the majority of that, and that's his thing. He just keeps pumping them out. So everything went good.
A new audio machine, while it does maintain elements of that old Trickster style throughout the release, I really think the CD expands and reaches out and is going to surprise a lot of people. Was there any song on the release that was particularly more challenging to you as a vocalist, and how easy was it for you to adapt out of that more comfortable Trickster zone?
There wasn't anything that was really challenging for me. What's nice about this record is compared to some of the older Trickster records where, I wasn't really, or having to sing in the stratosphere, which, I don't particularly love doing. It's just not really the most comfortable thing for me. But, I mean, again, songs like "Coolest Thing" and everything else, I mean, there's a certain breathiness to the vocals there, and a certain tone and everything else. It's not the easiest to do, but when you nail it and you hear it, you're like, yeah, okay, that's working. That's working.
Now, your vocals are still just amazing even after all these years, and in a lot of ways are even stronger now than when you were younger. Do you do anything in particular to help maintain it, or does it just flow naturally?
I'd love to tell you a story. I sleep in a hyperbaric chamber or something like that. But the reality, it almost, I am kind of stronger, I guess, in a way. I mean, I was a lot more fearless or able to do different things back then that I can't do now, but I do a lot of things now way better than I did then. I know my voice way better than I did back then. The first record even was kind of like, me just like figuring out that I could even, do some things, and it was kind of, not a train wreck, but yeah, I didn't really find myself vocally, for a while after that. And now I know what I can do, I know what I do well, and I know what I don't do well. And thankfully, it's all there. It's strong. I mean, it's weird. I'm having like the worst allergies in my entire life over the last 5 years, and somehow I'm still able to sing. Maybe they're contributing to the sound. Who knows?
Well, see, that'll teach you for leaving Jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, while your vocals are just superb throughout the release, one song in particular, which you even mentioned before, I really think you delivered the vocal performance of a lifetime. And
Really?
that song is the coolest thing. What do you remember about recording that song in particular?
Well, when Steve sent me the demo of that song, it was actually probably one of the first songs that he had sent me over, and I heard it and I'm like, oh man, this is a really neat song. It's so different than you would expect from Trixter. And for me, with the vocal, the way the ideas that he had, I'm like, man, I could kill this. I know I could do it. That was great. And then, the way it came out and, the mix, the whole sound of it, it's one of my favorite songs. And I've been hearing from people who have heard it say the same thing. It's just, it's a nice direction. I like it.
To be honest with you, I mean, it's a perfect song. In my opinion, it's just a great song, probably one of the best you've ever put on record. I mean, it's just an incredible, incredible song. Can't wait to tell everybody about it. And I mean, I probably got you about 30 pre-orders already from just friends and stuff like that I've been playing the song for.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
It's a great, great track, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, buddy.
Now, I understand you shot your first video for the release, Tattoos of Misery, just a few weeks back. Now, I haven't seen it yet, but can you tell me a little bit about what the video is going to be like? And were you pleased with that song selection as your first single?
Well, what really happened was I was back in Jersey a few months back, and we did a photo session for the record, and we also just kind of shot a couple of videos, just like a, performance type thing in the photo studio of, one was Drag Me Down, the other one was Dirty Love. And I guess the thought was that one of those songs would be the first single released, which ended up obviously not being the case. So we needed to get some more video footage, and, I was on the, other side of the country and everything else. So those guys went back in and did some more just performance type stuff in the photo studio, and I was like, what, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something different. So just a few nights back, I went to a tattoo shop here in town and had a buddy of mine bring down his video stuff, and we had a model come down and pretend like she was putting some tattoos on me and stuff. I mean, I don't want to give away too much because I don't know how it's going to turn out, but it should be pretty cool. It should look good. I haven't seen anything those guys did, so hopefully they look good. And, hopefully when it gets put together, it makes sense.
Now, you had originally gotten back together in 2007 and played your first gig at Rocklahoma in 2008. When and by whom were you first approached with the idea of putting the band back together, and what was your initial reaction?
Well, what happened I think it was 07, there's a big trade show that goes on out in California, in Anaheim. It's called the NAMM show. And a buddy of mine, who's also good friends with everyone in the band, was going out there with Steve and a couple guys, and he's like, hey, you should come out, spend a couple nights, we'll have some fun, party, whatever. Like, I don't know, I'm just kind of out of the loop as far as that stuff goes. But long story short, I ended up going. Steve and I were walking around the show. It's huge, and just like every 20 minutes or so, someone would stop us. Hey, you're the guys from Trixter. I'm like, how does everyone remember that? What is going on? And it just it kept happening that whole weekend. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, people were like excited. I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting. And he's like, well, you know what we should do? We should start talking about maybe doing some shows at some of these big festivals, the Rocklahomas, etc., that have been going on for the past couple of years. He goes, maybe we should try to capitalize on it. So that's really where the ball started rolling right there. And the next thing, of course, was reaching out to the other guys and seeing what they thought, and getting everyone on the same page.
Now, I was at that Rocklahoma gig. What was it like for you going out on stage again after such a long time?
It was, you know what, it was a great feeling, of course, but for me, it'd been a while since I've been on a stage, of that size. I don't know. I guess I was a little nervous, but you get out there in the first couple songs, and you're right back in the groove. It's just kind of weird how it happens. Can't explain it.
Now, I understand you've got some shows already lined up in support of the release. Tell me what you've got planned so far, and what's your live show going to be like this time around?
Well, we've got our first show as of right now. It's in May, May 10th, actually, back where you guys are in Jersey, at the Bergen. It's called the PAC,
right.
Performing Arts Center
Mm-hmm.
in Englewood, New Jersey, and it's with Doc and Warren. We're planning on doing like a CD release thing there, even though the CD will be out already, and that should be fun. And then we've got just trying to think. Everything's not 100%, so I can't really talk about everything. But we've got, and we're doing Sturgis this year with Warren Firehouse. We're going to be in Florida with those guys. A couple of shows in the Dakotas. I think we have another like a state fair in Illinois somewhere, and then Mohegan Sun on September 20th in Connecticut.
Oh, nice.
And just stuff starting to line up pretty good. So we're happy. I got kids yelling in the background. Sorry.
It's okay. Now, do you have any songs in particular that you like to perform live?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a big wimp or anything, but I mean, I like doing like the slower stuff. I like doing like surrenders. It's good for me because it's kind of wide open. I can kind of showcase myself, so to speak. And there's other songs like we still do, like Power of Love, and that I mean, I dread doing that song. I love the song, but it's just one of those songs where like I need like an extra lung and maybe a Red Bull injection or something.
Now, as with most live performers, you've had your share of tough audiences. How do you as a frontman approach a situation like that, and is there any song in particular that you feel can win over even the toughest of audiences?
It's been a while since I've had like a real tough audience. I don't know. Years ago, if we had like a tough audience that was just kind of sitting there with their arms folded, we would just, we would basically just kick them in the teeth with just energy and not showing that we were buying into what they were giving us. And eventually they would come around and we'd win them over. Sometimes people will take a tough person in the crowd and kind of get steered in the wrong direction and start going after them, verbally or whatever. It's just that kind of stuff I never really did that. Just didn't seem like the right thing to do. I mean, maybe a couple times it did it. I don't know. But for the most part, with tough crowds, we just, I don't know, I don't want to say kill them with kindness, but, we killed them with enthusiasm. Let's say that.
Yeah. Well, you certainly do. Your live show is just absolutely always a great experience, always. And now, speaking of live shows, I actually came up with this question when I was doing research for my interview with PJ, but it seems to be getting quite the reaction, not only from your fans, but from your bandmates as well, so I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
What do you remember most about the now infamous Turlock, California gig?
Well, You must have some inside information if you know something about that show. There's no two ways about it. That's weird. I would say most of it's a blur, but the parts it was just I don't know. We were on tour, and this was what they would call like a one-off show, where you're on tour on a big headline or a big arena tour, and on a day off, you peeled off and you went and did a solo show, with your band, and then met back up with the tour the next day or whatever it was. But that's what this was, and it was, God, I can't even remember the name of the place, but it's just like one of those little towns where you're like, where are we? Is there even anyone here? And it's just, the place was jammed. Let's see, we had an entire bottle of something on one of the amps on stage, and people in the crowd were just walking up on stage and helping themselves. I was just like, what is going? I mean, they would just walk up there like nonchalantly and just go take a big drink, put it back down, like where are we, man? And then the power went out at one point during the show for the PA, but the back line was still live, so we just kept playing. I know at one point during the show I actually had to go to the bathroom so bad that I just walked off the stage with my wireless mic. I went into the men's room. It was standing up, taking a pee at the urinal. Guys were walking in. I was interviewing people in there with the mic as it was coming out over the PA while the band was doing like this blues jam or something. It was just insanity. There were things going on that I can't even mention.
Well, after the initial demise of Trixter, you moved to Arizona and kind of stayed away from the music industry for a while until your solo release, Be of This Time, in 1999. Tell us a little bit about that release.
That was kind of interesting because it wasn't really planned. After the Trixter thing went away, I had recorded some demos. They weren't for anything other than the satisfaction of me being able to actually record myself singing, like a real, like, comfortable, more organic type deal for myself. And I had a bunch of songs, and I ended up running into a couple of guys here that were trying to put a label together, which had big distribution through EMI. And long story short, they talked me into putting those demos on a disc and putting it out, and that's pretty much what happened there. But it was a good thing. At least I could organize them now on a disc. I had them mastered and stuff. So for me, it was a good deal.
Mm-hmm. Now, after that, you again kind of flew under the radar for a while until you got involved with the Liberty and Justice Project back in 2006, and then finally reuniting full-time with Trixter. How hard was it for you to get your chops back and to be ready to sing that much again after so much time?
It's a great question. It's true. Here's the weirdest thing about the whole Trixter thing. We had been apart for so long, and before Rocklahoma, we literally got together to rehearse one time.
Wow.
Once, which is really crazy. I mean, those guys had rehearsed a little bit together, but without me. And I honestly, I didn't know exactly what I was going to get out of my voice. I thought I was going to be okay, but the biggest problem with singing, at least for me, is, being able to, is your stamina, is breathing. So that's the toughest thing with the Trixter stuff, as far as not necessarily like, higher notes and whatnot. It's just doing those, on a set where you're non-stop. That's the tough part. So I was kind of surprised, that I was able to still get there pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Now, during all that time, what was your relationship like with the rest of the band, being that you were so far apart now?
You're talking about when we were not together?
Right.
My relationship with those guys was fine. We all kind of stayed in touch for the most part. I think a couple of guys probably didn't stay in touch. But, that was a little bit of the process of getting back together. But everything's good now.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you're not Pete Loran, lead singer for Trixter, who are you and what do you do?
I'm an Indian chief at now. I actually here in Phoenix, there's pretty good scene for music as far as being in cover bands and whatnot. So I fill in for a bunch of the big cover bands here, and believe it or not, I have a project that I started from scratch. And everyone's probably going to be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" But I've got a country cover band, modern country, up-tempo stuff that we put together a couple months ago that we're starting to play. We're going to be doing some stuff in Vegas. We're going out to this big festival out in Cheyenne, Wyoming in July, big country festival. But it's cool, man. I mean, if I was never a big country fan, but when you listen to a lot of those songs, especially a lot of the newer ones, they're really rock songs. I mean, they're all based. I mean, a lot of these guys come from rock bands, and they're pop songs. I mean, we've got a girl singer, do a lot of the Carrie Underwood stuff. Mm-hmm. It's cool. It's cool. Band's called Daisy Train, so we're going to be staying busy, hopefully.
Very cool. Very cool. So, what kind of music do you listen to nowadays?
I'm listening to everything. I'm listening, obviously, to a lot of country because I'm learning a lot of this stuff. But, I don't mess with CDs anymore. But, my iPod is just jammed full of, crazy stuff. I've been listening to a lot of King's X lately. Always love those guys. King's X, that last Methods of Mayhem record, good friend of mine. A lot of his songs are on that record. He played all over it. And then, I've got everything, man. Judas Priest, I was with Stevie Ray Vaughan, always listened to him for years, Bonnie Raitt, all over the map. So I enjoy just about everything.
Now, one of the songs on the new release as well, Walk with a Stranger, I actually remember hearing you guys play way back in the day. Tell us a little bit about that one and how you decided to put that one on the record.
I can't remember exactly how we started playing that song. And obviously, the Skid Row guys let us use it. But I think back then, they demoed it. There's definitely a demo of it with Sebastian from back then. Way back in the 87, 88, Skid Row guys were from Jersey too, and we would be doing a lot of clubs in the tri-state area together. And even before Sebastian was in the band with their old singer, and then he got in the band, and then I guess they demoed that song for their first record, and they're like, I don't know, it's not happening. And then somehow or other, I think they go, hey, you guys should put this on your record before it comes out. And didn't make it obviously on our record, but it finally made it. But it's a cool song, It's nice. I don't know. It's just, it sounds like a Skid Row song, but just with us doing it. So it's kind of cool. I don't know. I think it works.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's really, really it's, again, a different side of you guys that a lot of people aren't going to expect.
Yeah. And I'm sure people will try to find the Skid Row version of it. It's out there somewhere. I don't know. Probably on YouTube or something you can find it. But it was cool. Those guys are just the greatest of guys, always just the coolest guys out there, most down to earth, accessible, great guys.
So what are your hopes for New Audio Machine and for the band itself in the future?
Well, the weird thing to me is that, people, are still interested in what we're doing. And I mean, maybe not weird, but it's just, it's wild, it's just, all these years later, you got people going, "You're putting out new music? That's awesome. I can't wait to hear it." I'm like, wow, okay, cool. So, what I hope is, a lot of people get to hear it, get to give it a swing, get to give it a listen. It really is good. We've done a bunch of recordings over the years, and I'm definitely proud of this one, beyond compared to the other ones. And, it'd be great to go out there and support this thing as much as we possibly can. And I want to gain new fans as well. We love our old friends, our old fans, but it's always so cool to see new people, like, rediscovering this stuff going, oh my God, it's like when I was growing up, my parents would always be playing, songs in the cars. This is in the 70s. And, as I got older, I'd hear these songs and know all the words. I go, why do I know this song? It's just kind of like, you rediscover that stuff. So it's kind of cool for the new fans too. Just come, you see people of all ages like, oh my God, I love your band. I'm like, oh my God, you're like, 11 years old. How is that possible? It's cool. So hopefully we'll get out there and we'll spend a lot of time playing for people and supporting this thing. And it's just nice to be able to do it after all these years.
Well, Pete, that's about it. Is there anything else that you'd like to say or, say to your fans in conclusion?
You know what? Just give the record a shot, give it a listen, and hopefully everyone enjoys it, and we'll see you out there making noise somewhere in a city near you.
Well, Pete, thank you so much again for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to have you here on Rockeyez, and we're looking forward to the release of the album and hopefully seeing you guys live real soon.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.